So I recently had a rather interesting experience. I went to the live-action Sailor Moon musical show. And as the title suggests, this was a theater performance based on the classic 90s anime Sailor Moon, but with lots of singing and dancing instead. It was camp, it was over the top, it made very little sense, and it was very, very fun. But it made me realize something. It made me realize what's special about anime to me. Now, I've never seen the original Sailor Moon anime, and I still really enjoyed the show. But equally interesting to me was watching the audience and how much it all meant to them. While I was recording the performance, I inadvertently caught this really sweet human moment that I kind of want to talk to you about. The performers were doing a sort of post-credit celebration, and the actors for the Sailor Guardians were walking through the crowd to greet people. I was in the standing section, so I was a little bit away from them. I want you to take a look at these two women in the back just being so excited to be here. And in particular, I love their reaction when they're greeted by none other than Sailor Moon. You can see them excitedly waving, and then after she passes, they turn to each other to almost squeal in mutual joy like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it." Now, as you can maybe tell, these are adult women, probably in their 30s, although hopefully that's not offensively wrong. And still, their excitement is so genuine and so childlike. I say childlike because firstly, it feels rare for adults to feel comfortable to just express genuine excitement about things. Just our societal conditioning teaches us to temper most emotions, especially happiness, and especially in front of others. But childlike also because you can practically see their inner children bursting with joy. And this helped me realize that this is part of what makes anime so special. They are earnest. And in that earnesty, they allow us to be in touch with our emotions in a way that so much other media blocks us from doing. This is not exclusive to anime by any means, but the show was silly, goofy, and didn't have an ounce of cynicism in it. And all too often, when I watch Western TV shows and Hollywood movies, it's like they're afraid of being honest and emotional so often that I'm left feeling equally emotionally devoid. So if you'll indulge me, I'd like to talk to you about this special quality of anime, of earnestness, and why for me, it makes them so much more appealing than most things I watch in Western media. Now, so that we're clear about what I mean in this video, let me actually define what earnest means, and we can go from there. When you Google the definition, it describes it as the following: resulting from or showing sincere or intense conviction. The Cambridge English Dictionary also adds that there's an element of seriousness to it. Now obviously, anime are not serious in the way that a crime drama might be. But to me, anime falls somewhere in the mix of all these words. They are sincere in that they really mean what they say, and serious in that they're not trying to be self-deprecating or meta, but told seriously within the confines of their story world, and very rarely in a meta way that tries to remind you that this is a piece of fiction that you're watching. All the actions and emotions depicted are done so with full belief that these are genuinely what these characters want to do and feel. To better understand what I mean, I want to show you some examples. And the best place to start, I think, is to show you something that I don't think is earnest. An example from a Marvel film. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not here to bash Marvel films, and if you're someone who enjoys them, that's totally valid as much as my enjoyment of anime is. But there's this scene from the latest Captain America film that, to me, encapsulates the difference in ideology behind anime and a lot of Western media. A few admin notes to get out the way: there will be spoilers ahead for anything discussed, including several mainstream anime, and I want to say here that I'm talking in huge generalizations. Anime is just an art form, so saying anime are like X and Western shows are like Y is just a massive oversimplification that will miss out a lot of nuance. There are of course anime that don't behave in this way that I'm describing, and Western shows that are very earnest, but I'm talking really big picture here, and so I'll be talking about mainstream anime in general, and to that end, I think comparing it to Marvel, which is about as mainstream as Hollywood films get, is a fair comparison. Now, in this scene from Captain America: Brave New World, we have Anthony Mackie's character Sam, who has now assumed the role of the new Captain America, having previously been the Falcon. By the start of the film, he's handed over the responsibility of being the Falcon to his friend Joaquin Torres, and this scene that we're going to discuss takes place after this new Falcon is severely injured in a fight. Sam is in the hospital, watching on as his friend's life is hanging in the balance, and he's not sure if he'll even survive. It's at this moment that Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, arrives. And as with all Marvel things, you need to understand 10 other pieces of media worth of context, which is that these two had their own TV show together and worked together as begrudging friends in the way that male heroes in Marvel films are. Also, that Bucky is now running for political office, and this will be relevant in a moment. Now, this scene begins earnestly. Sam hugs Bucky and tells him he's glad that he came. The two of them then have a heart-to-heart about the thing that's been bothering Sam lately, which is that he feels he's not good enough to be Captain America. Since he doesn't have superpowers, he's not sure he can measure up to Steve Rogers, the original super soldier Captain America. It's at this point that Bucky gives his wise advice to Sam and says that Sam is fit to be the new captain, and while Steve gave people something to look up to, he gives people something to aspire to, which is a nice sentiment, but the problem comes immediately after. And I'm going to let this clip play out and you'll see what happens.
You give him something to aspire to. Did your speechwriters help you with that?
They did, yeah, the ending a little bit. Did you like it?
It was good. Solid B+.
Emotional.
Very. I felt it.
But just enough.
Yeah.
Right after something genuinely nice and earnest is said, the writers immediately have to undercut this by having there be a joke. And not just a joke, but a joke that explicitly invalidates the earnestness of what was just said. And this approach to emotions is what I hate, not just about Marvel films, but about the Marvelization of Western media in general. It's not just that Sam breaks the sincerity of the moment with a joke, but the joke they make essentially reveals that what Bucky just said wasn't fully genuine. It was something, we're told, his speechwriters wrote for him. Meaning that not only was this not a spur-of-the-moment heartfelt sentiment, but it wasn't even his sentiment. The conclusion we get from this is that someone else basically told Bucky to say this. There's so much to unpack about this, so bear with me while we do so. Now let's say you don't believe that we should take this interaction at face value, that Bucky actually didn't have his speechwriters write this, but that he just had to pretend they did so as to avoid being embarrassed by what he said. Even in that scenario, I hate the underlying sentiment behind this joke. Essentially, it boils down to the idea that people, but particularly men, can't express sincere emotion. We have here a guy whose closest friend is possibly gonna die in front of him, and he feels like it was his fault. And his other closest friend comes to comfort him. But even with the severity of that situation, we can't just have these two characters have a genuine moment where they emotionally connect with each other. They have to play it all off as unserious and with a level of disconnect. It's like this really outdated view of emotions, as if to say that having feelings is gay and men being gay is bad, therefore feelings are bad. Apparently we can't express feelings. And as we'll talk about in the next part of this video, anime is great at expressing feelings honestly, especially with their male characters who could not be more different than what we see here. But the speechwriter joke goes one step further. By revealing that Bucky didn't even come up with what he said, it goes one step further to remove the emotions from the people on screen. It's not even that Bucky has to crack a joke to hide that he has emotions, but that he didn't even have emotions in the first place. Someone else gave him the earnest sentiment and he just repeated it, as if he, and men in general, are robots who don't even understand feelings and have to pretend to care about things. Now there's a whole masculinity element that I could discuss about how harmful this is in a world where male isolation and mental health issues are literally the #1 killer of men under 40, but sticking to the theme of earnestness, it just frustrates me on a storytelling level. For me, the viewer watching this, I go to a movie because I want to care. I want to feel invested in the characters, I want to root for them, and I want to feel what they're feeling. If Sam's friend might die and he's worried, I want to feel that pain as the viewer. I want to be sad with him. I want to be given a window into his pain and made to cry by the emotional struggle that he's experiencing. But if Sam himself cannot feel, express, or even have his own emotions, then how am I as the viewer meant to ever care? If all this ends with a joke from the character on screen, why would I, the viewer, view it as anything important at all? That, in as short a way as I know how to explain, is why I feel such an emotional disconnect when I watch things like Marvel movies and Western shows like it. And I think it's fair to say that so many Western shows follow this kind of pattern. We're so obsessed with throwing in references and jokes and satire that we don't actually express human emotions enough. Now I'll elaborate on some of these points in a later section, but for now, let's go back to anime and explain why I resonate with them so much more. I'm going to show you a few similar scenes in anime now and explain why they demonstrate the difference between anime in a lot of Western media. First is this scene in Hunter x Hunter, which is super short but still super moving. In this scene, the protagonist Gon has been badly wounded and is basically as good as dead. His best friend Killua employs the favor of his sister, who has incredible powers, to try and heal Gon. But in this scene, we see Killua seeing the state that Gon is in up close, and just look at his expression. The added thing about this is that Killua is an assassin, and so in the show, he's shown to be one of the coldest, most unflappable characters there is. But seeing his friend in this horrendous state, and I think more importantly, realizing that he might lose him, you can see how absolutely torn up he is about this. It's like he's watching his world fall apart, and in a way he is. Like I said, this scene is short, but I think anyone even vaguely invested in the show would be heartless to not be thoroughly moved by what's happening here. And it's impossible not to feel Killua's pain. This is what I mean. When a character is allowed to feel grief and pain, or any emotion authentically, without the need for caveat, then we as the audience are allowed to feel it too. There's never a sense that this is going to be undercut by some sort of joke or throwaway comment. Here's another equivalent in My Hero Academia. Similar setup, our main character of Deku is grievously wounded, and his childhood best friend slash bully slash rival Bakugo, it's complicated, is just informed of this news after himself waking up from serious injuries. Now perhaps defenders of the Captain America scene would say that humor should be allowed in serious moments. It's not necessary that things have to only display one emotion at a time. People are complex, and so emotions can be complex. And that's absolutely fair. But I think this example shows you how you can add humor without undermining the emotions of the characters. Bakugo is immediately angry and concerned, and tries to bulldoze his way to see Deku, even as his friends warn him that he's in no condition to move. Now we can see the clear comedy here in the way that his friends try to stop him, particularly from the character of Minata, whose small stature is clearly futile in trying to stop Bakugo. On top of that, what Bakugo says is humorous too. He says, "That bastard, if he dies, I'll kill him." Original? No, but funny. The key distinction here is that this joke doesn't undermine what he's feeling. In fact, it adds to it. Bakugo is a particularly angry guy, and viewers of the show My Hero Academia know that he expresses everything via anger, whether that's fear or sadness or concern. So seeing how angry he is and how clearly concerned he is, the joke about killing Deku if he dies only shows us even more that Bakugo is really worried about his friend and can't bear to lose him. Coupled with the shots we see here of a really serious All Might looking distraught sat next to Deku, and we as the viewer ourselves are given the opportunity to be concerned. If a joke undermines the emotion, then we probably just assume, well, if the characters are laughing about it, then there can't be any serious danger here. This character can't die because they're all being too silly about it. Whereas even though we know that a main character of a show surely won't die, we're still more concerned about it when we're watching these anime because the characters around them are genuinely worried about it too, and preparing as if that could be a possibility. The last thing I'll say on these scenes is this. I think the fundamental mistake the Captain America scene makes is that it assumes that if you want characters to be seen as tough and strong, then they can't be open with their emotions. Of course, it's not just visual media that makes this error. This is a mistaken idea among society as a whole. But Bakugo and Killua are both tough, strong guys. In fact, both are seen as some of the coolest and most fearless characters in their respective worlds. But that doesn't mean they're without emotion. Tough guys have feelings, tough guys can be sad, and tough guys can weep uncontrollably for themselves or others. It doesn't make them any less respectable, and in fact for me, and I'd hazard most viewers, it makes them more likable, more human. Because no human being is without these feelings, and so strangely, these animated characters feel more relatable than the characters the real actors are playing. Now it's not just sadness that is genuinely expressed in anime, of course, it's a whole range of emotions. When a character is happy, for example, they are unreservedly happy. They whoop and laugh and jump with joy and share their excitement with their friends. When they're afraid or scared, they're open about that too. And all these emotions are given a chance to just exist. You might rightly argue that anime can be overexpressive, with the exaggerated facial features and constant random noises that characters make when they're doing even the most mundane things. But the emotions are expressed genuinely from the character. They don't have to explain or check themselves. and we're also not constantly reminded that the show is aware of itself. Anime can often be generic and use certain similar tropes, but it almost never feels the need to try and acknowledge that, which I actually like. You can look at the Deadpool franchise as the ultimate culmination of this idea, where half the jokes are about you, the viewer, or something you'd know, rather than about stuff happening in the film. When I watch a film or any piece of media, sure, there are times when it being self-referential can be funny or clever, but I don't want the default to be that the film is constantly reminding me that it knows I'm an audience in a cinema or at home, half watching while I'm playing on my phone. Because that only serves to take me out of the experience. That removes my immersion from the story world. And what I like about anime is that in being earnest, it allows me to really sit in the world I'm being shown. And that brings me back to the Sailor Moon musical that I spoke about before. Because when you're allowed to sit in the story world with, for example, a bunch of high school secret superheroes who dress up and fight bad guys with their superpowers, it allows me to indulge in that fantasy too. It's why so many people in the audience were so excited and happy. Beyond just the nostalgia, which was obviously a factor, they were allowed to express their emotions in the same way that the characters on stage could, or on screen. And that's beautiful to me. Maybe I'm just a sentimental, softy fool, but I think human emotions are amazing. I think the purpose of art is to move us, to make us feel something. And I think that's what I feel the earnestness of anime allows for. If I was in Sam's position in the hospital, I would absolutely not be worried about seeming unmasculine in front of someone who is supposed to be my friend. I would be distraught, I would be inconsolable, and I would probably be a lot like Killua if my best friend might die in front of me. For these few moments on screen, I feel real empathy. I feel real sadness. And so when later Gon is okay and back to being his usual goofy self, I feel an equal level of joy with him and for him. It is that earnestness, I think, that was freeing those women at the Sailor Moon show into feeling like they could just be their authentic selves. And I love that. So much Western media tries to reinforce this idea that we shouldn't fully express our emotions, that we should keep guarded, even when in a safe environment surrounded by friends. But that's such a shitty way to live life. We should laugh, we should have a good time, and we should express our sadness, because keeping any of that bottled up is so much worse. That's why I rarely find Western shows these days that touch me. Heartfelt and earnest pieces like Ted Lasso, which I love, are few and far between, and more often than not, I'm just left watching a confusing set of characters who I feel no emotional connection to. And that's why I cover anime so much on this channel. Of course, there are algorithmic concerns too. You have to keep to a certain niche of content if you want to succeed on YouTube and expand slowly, which is what I want and hope to do. This video itself is a wider niche than the Ghibli videos I've done, which I enjoy and am proud of. And I hope someday to build enough trust with you, the viewers of The Soak, that no matter what I put out, you'll feel confident enough to click on the video, knowing that it'll be worth your time, even if you don't know anything about the subject at hand. But right now, I just don't find any Western shows that I'd want to cover. Something that inspires me or genuinely engages me. Which is why I'll be making a lot more videos on anime and animated films and TV shows. But please do let me know in the comments if there is something genuinely good that you'd like me to cover, anime or not. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and for listening to my rambles. If you've enjoyed it, then I would be super grateful if you could support me directly via Patreon, even if it's just for a few dollars a month, or drop a one-time payment via PayPal. The links to both are in the video description and pinned comment. As I've mentioned in previous videos, video essay work can be tricky and unreliable due to the nature of copyright flags, which can crop up at any time and threaten to take a video down. So if you'd like to see more stuff from me, then please do consider supporting. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching all the way through, and I hope I will continue to earn your trust and views no matter what videos I make in the future. See you soon, and have a great day.